Recording in progress.
Welcome into the latest episode of Betting the Pitch with your host, _G Warner. We are 35-12, 75% so far year to date. I need to remember to tweet out that we are live, coming up with another late night with the _G Warner. Per usual, going to go through the top 5 European soccer leagues, all their soccer action this weekend, which includes a lot, but it includes mainly the top 5 European soccer leagues, domestic league action, but we also have the FA Cup in England, as I just muted myself. We also have the FA Cup in England. So I'm going to go through what I do for Ultimate Best Bet, which is where the 35-12, 75% record comes from, is I pick my favorite bet from each of the leagues I cover, smash it all together in 1-minute video on at the _G Warner on YouTube and on Instagram, and then pick my favorite that goes up there in a 1-minute version. If you want to consume this in a lot less than the 40 or so minutes we're going to record live tonight. And with that said, without further ado, let's get right into it. If you're not subscribed on Patreon, check it out, patreon.com/the_G Warner, especially as we head into March with the March Madness NCAA tournament coming up. We're doing a lot of stuff exclusive to my Patreon subscribers there, going through brackets and such as we get down to it. And of course, the championship week with all the tournaments, which actually starts in the next few hours, I believe. It's all going to be awesome. It's going to be a great run, and I'm really looking forward to it. And if you want some more college basketball stuff, please check out pregame.com's podcast. Called Bet. It's not called that. It's called the Need for Seats College Basketball Podcast that I do at Big East Ben. We did our Friday night episode for Saturday. Go check that out on Pregame Now on Twitter. Okay, so we're going to start in the FA Cup, which might be a little bit briefer than most English Premier League sections, but forgive me for that. It's really hard to know what lineups are going to look like, and especially coming off a midweek match day, as for some reason they decide to trade the FA Cup weekend for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday matches in the English Premier League, but I'm not going to try to explain anything that England does because they mourned a 97-year-old woman for 2 weeks. But then again, also, we almost entered World War III today in the United States, so no government or anything knows anything. So let's move on and just focus on gambling, which governments don't really like, and I guess I'll stay in this lane, in my lane. We'll start with Preston hosting Burnley. Currently, Preston, a quarter-goal underdog with almost all the juice. Total is 2 on this one, juiced all the way to under. And that's probably more than I have in my wheelhouse to speak of. I mean, we know Burnley and Vincent Kompany took them to the Premier League last season, then got relegated, left for Bayern München. I think Burnley, owned by J.J. Watt, former Houston Texans player, who's all over the NFL, National Football League, American football broadcast here in the United States. They put some money in. They want to be more aggressive, anti-Sean Dyche football that they were for so long, which feels like a 2 total feels really low. But I have not been following a championship side. Even with the parachute payments going down to the lower division, they should be coming back up to the Premier League, would be my expectation. Moving next, Crystal Palace hosting Millwall, which is supposedly a big rivalry in East London. Crystal Palace currently 1.5 goal favorites, almost all the juice on Millwall, totals 2.5, and is juiced pretty heavily to under right now. That's the bigger lean for me as we speak, or as I speak to those of you that are listening, either live on StreamYard, via Twitter, via YouTube, or if you're listening on demand on Betting the Pitch on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. If you leave a 5-star review, it's huge for the search rankings. I would really appreciate it, and as would the other podcasts and podcasters that come on this feed. Trying to figure out how to expand that, and we'll be looking to do that hopefully shortly. Millwall, I don't know how much a rivalry really matters in the FA Cup. It certainly helps to, I think, get stuck in and play better defense for the weaker club that's unfortunately traveling to Selhurst Park, which is going to be very difficult to beat Crystal Palace. They've been really good away from home this year, usually are dominant at home, terrible away. But they've been playing better, got a good win in midweek at home to Aston Villa. Would imagine the FA Cup matters to them. Relegation is nowhere in sight, though they do have some interest in Ras after their match. At least Jean-Philippe Mateta was about Europe. And so that we might see potentially Millwall taking advantage here of a weakened Crystal Palace lineup. I would still expect Crystal Palace to go for this, but we'll see, because they did rotate a fair amount for their Arsenal match in the Carabao Cup, deeper in the competition, I think, than this one against Millwall, maybe with a rival. I mean, it's really tough in cup competitions to prepare the night before even to know what lineups are going to look like. I would imagine Matt Turner, the United States American international, he probably will be goal, but at this point, I need to see lineups. I think my biggest interest in this one is under 2.5, but it is not. It's not locked. Let's not lock it in just yet. I'll put it that way. I still need to do some research on Millwall, and that will be hopefully happening in the wee hours, though it's almost midnight and almost March, the best month of the year. Moving next to Bournemouth hosting Wolves. Currently, Bournemouth 3-quarter goal favorites at home. More juice on Wolves. Totals 3, juice all the way to under. This is a rematch of, I think, just last weekend. So these two teams know each other fairly well. Bournemouth took a red card from a very indispensable, you could call it, center back. And that changed the game. Playing 10 versus 11 for, I think, about an hour was too much. Wolverhampton found a goal. Bournemouth were not able to equalize, and it was a huge win for Wolves, and they're trying to stay in the out of the relegation fight. They did lose in midweek at home as a slight favorite to Fulham, which showed the English Premier League all betting one direction and getting it wrong, which does seem like that happens a lot more in England than it does in Italy or other leagues, that's for sure. I think the Bournemouth side here at 3/4 of goal, they should have Zabarni. I don't think he's suspended for this matchup. And that should help them defensively. I feel like the push on 3 is really important. We probably see some backups, but I'm not sure really how much that really falls off for Wolves. They're 3/4 goal underdogs because they're going back to where they just had success, had a win on the road here a couple matches ago. But I just don't really trust them. And I got to say, the Wolves defense has been so bad this year, despite having a really good defensive manager the first part of the season who was sacked. They brought in another defensive one, it seems to me, from Saudi Arabia. And honestly, things have gotten better, but also because the bottom of the table is so bad that Wolves will probably escape and stay up because of that. I think Bournemouth, they've looked like a really good over team. They were very close to equalizing, got a great goal from Justin Kluivert in midweek, but did certainly have some center back splitting passes that conceded 2 goals, which in hindsight, I kind of wish I had kind of gone away from betting Bournemouth, but I figured they would have a much better defensive effort, were more focused. I thought they would be on their center back rotation. I imagine Zabarni's probably suspended for another match, so that might mean he plays here, which would certainly get me very, very interested in the Bournemouth side. But as favorites, anyone who listens to this podcast knows I don't play those. So under 3 is, I think, my biggest interest. And I think that push is very valuable in a cup rotated side that probably we see from both of these teams. So I'll go Wolverhampton under 3 goals as my biggest interest in that one. To the last matchup on Saturday, the nightcap, as it would be in England. And we go to Manchester for Manchester City, 2 3/4 goal favorites with all the juice to Plymouth Argyle, who just knocked out Liverpool, I think, and knocked out Brentford the round before. Total on this one, 3 3/4. She's almost all the way to over. I'm not really seeing a lot that I want to do here. Manchester City is not an under team for sure, to say the least. So I think I will skip and move on to Sunday. We have Sunday match. We also have a Monday, and then we'll move to Spain. Newcastle hosts Brighton in the early of the 2 matches on Sunday. Newcastle currently a 1/4 goal favorite with slightly more juice. Total is 3, and it's just more to the over. Brighton got a good win against Bournemouth midweek, but I just don't really trust that they are able to score goals efficiently. I especially don't trust them to do that on the road at Newcastle at the top of England. Really tough place to play. And I think Newcastle look really cheap. I can't imagine they'll drop the pick 'em, but I'll certainly be looking out to see if that does occur. Newcastle can score a ton of goals at home. They're usually wanting to play on the counterattack, but I feel like the energy that their crowd both gives to them and sucks out of the opponent is so significant. I'll lean to under 3 here, but it's not a strong one on Sunday. To the late one, Manchester United hosting Fulham. Currently United a 1/4 goal favorite at home. All the juice on Fulham away. Totals 2.5, juice all the way to over. I just want to be against Manchester United as much as I can. Fulham got a good win on the road at Wolves. It's certainly not anywhere near as strong as the Manchester United side. But at this point, anytime Manchester United are a favorite, I want to be against them. So I like Fulham getting a 1/4 goal. And I think I like the under 2.5 just as much, or maybe even a little more. I just want to be against Manchester United offense I don't trust. I feel like their goals are always really fortunate, and they usually come from when they're behind, and the other side is trying to focus on extending their lead or holding on and really focus on the next match. To Monday, and this is the last match we'll cover on this episode, Nottingham Forest 3/4 goal favorites right now at home to Ipswich, another all Premier League matchup. Almost all the juice on Nottingham Forest at home, totals 2 3/4, juice all the way to under. Ipswich, to me, they're going to have to go on the road and play really defensively here, but they have much bigger fish to fry as they are so worried about Premier League and getting relegated, and they should be. The Nottingham Forest side, though, to me is the very interesting one. I'd rather have an interest there, but I don't want them as a big favorite. They've been really struggling. I'm curious to see what lineup is put out there. I imagine it's some fringe players, but Nottingham Forest, because they really are more worried about where they finish in Premier League, because they do have Europe certainly on their minds. I think we see rotated sides here on both, which does certainly cause some defensive questions, but Nottingham Forest, the way they play, they're usually going to protect their net first. So I'm pretty interested in under 2 3/4 in this matchup on Monday. For my ultimate best bet from the England, I guess, delegation, I'll go with Fulham and visiting on the road at Manchester United. I'll go under 2.5 in that matchup. We might get 2 3/4 before kickoff, but I only go with what's available as I record. Move now to the full slate of Spanish matches besides what we missed on Friday. Girona hosts Celta Vigo in the early matchup. Girona currently a 1/4 goal favorite at home with more juice on Celta. Totals 2.5. Juice is split both ways. So Girona have not been the same offense, not been the same team. Lost a lot of players, did play Champions League, and that's not a good combo. Of course, they were eliminated, one of the worst finishers in that competition, but, they got there. That was a big deal. Celta have not been great, but Iago Aspas is getting healthier. He's very important, old player, but certainly when he's in there, he is very valuable. Seems to come on and score a penalty every week. He did the last 2 match days at least. I don't trust offense in this matchup, so I lean to the underdog and the under. I don't know that I really want to back Celta at this point. Girona have shown they can score at home, but they just haven't been anywhere near what they were last season. I feel like they're still getting lines that suggest they're at least a shell of what they were, and I don't even think they're that. Moving next to Rayo Vallecano hosting Sevilla. Currently Rayo a 1/4 goal favorite at home. All the juice on Sevilla away. Totals 2 1/4. Juice very heavily to under. Rayo aren't really much of an offense. They're very good at home. I'm really hoping that Sevilla continues to get bet, and I can bet Rayo Vallecano as a home pick 'em. Not sure we'll see that, but we may. Sevilla is still a big name, though they've not produced like it. Biggest interest for me right now of available numbers. I'll go under 2 1/4 in that matchup, as I don't think either offense is really built to score. Real Betis then hosts Real Madrid, both Real clubs, Royal clubs, big fan bases. Real Betis at home should be dealing with, though, plenty of Real Madrid fans. Total is 3 in this one, juice all the way to over. Side is Real Betis a 1/2 goal underdog. I don't know that I trust Real Betis offense much, but I don't really trust Real Madrid, especially coming off a road match in the Copa del Rey on the away to Real Sociedad. And honestly, not only going to Donostia San Sebastian and coming down to Sevilla, as I've actually made that exact trip, though I did stop in Madrid between. So it's pretty similar. I do think that there's some questions about Kylian Mbappe. He was kind of a surprise, I guess, unavailable starter, didn't even make the team, the match day squad in Copa del Rey. I didn't see if that was injury related. I assume it was. So I'm interested in Real Betis at this point. I think more interested under 3, though. To the nightcap on Saturday of Atletico Madrid hosting Athletic Club Bilbao. Currently Atleti a 1/2 goal favorite at home. All the juice on Athletic Club away. Total is 2 1/4. Juice slightly more to over. Atleti coming off a crazy match in Copa del Rey on the road at Barcelona, put themselves in great position, 2-0 up, then were 4-2 down and somehow drew 4-4. All to play for in the second leg, and that's coming, unfortunately, not until April, which is pretty brutal. But Athletic Club got to watch them play, and I think they are going to go in and use a lot of their legs advantage. Yes, Atleti they rotated, they substituted, so it's not like they played their best players 90 minutes, each of them. But I do think there's going to be a lot of an advantage for Athletic Club. And honestly, the total at 2 1/4 does, I think, fit both of these clubs' DNA, that they both want to defend first. It's really hard to see an Atleti match, though, with a total this low. It does certainly make it seem like the market is expecting a low-scoring match, though they've expected that in La Liga all season. And there have been so many goals that it's been an over league, which has not been good for me. But at this point, I think Athletic Club, I'm very interested in getting a half of a goal. I think I like that more than under 2.25, but I lean that way as well. I think the biggest interest for me is whether I see Nico Williams in that starting lineup. I also wonder if Antoine Griezmann will start for Atletico Madrid. I mean, it could be Sorloth coming in. He's been certainly a great goal scorer, but usually he's end of matches against tired sides. So we'll see how that looks. Moving to Sunday, we have Leganés hosting Getafe. Currently, Leganés a pick'em. All the juice on Getafe away. Totals 1 3/4 in this one, and it's juice to the under. I don't know that there's much for me to do here. I do like Leganés as a pick'em at home, but I want to see them move to a quarter goal underdog. I don't play totals below 2, so I'm not really sure I want too much. Leganés have just not really been getting results lately. I think they've been playing better than their results have said, but you are what the table says you are, and they're still in that relegation fight. Moving next to Barcelona, hosting Real Sociedad, both coming off Copa del Rey, but Real Sociedad have to travel up to Montjuic while Barcelona get to play 2 home games. It's a pretty big advantage. I don't know if that explains Real Sociedad being a 1 3/4 goal underdog. That's gigantic. Total is 3, just pretty heavily to under right now. A little bit more juice on the Real Sociedad side. Honestly, I'm waiting to see this climb to 2. I think Real Sociedad have proven that they've been starting to play very well. They've turned their season around after a really kind of slow start. There's questions about Real Sociedad scoring, which does make this seem a little bit more difficult for them to compete at Barcelona. But 1 3/4 is gigantic for a team that's one of the best in Europa League, and they've been doing well in La Liga, plus in the Copa del Rey, of course. One less rest day is a problem, but I lean to under 3 as well, because I think we get Real Sociedad style, which is a low-scoring matchup, though they certainly have not had the best success with Barcelona, despite beating them in the first half of the season. Moving next to Mallorca, hosting Alaves. Currently, Mallorca, a quarter goal favorite at home with more juice. Totals 1 3/4, juice all the way to over. I'm going to hope this one moves back to 2. I don't see many goals being scored. Yes, we're probably going to get a stoppage time goal on both sides of the half. So that's where the under got destroyed in the last Mallorca match. I think it was at Sevilla on Monday. Alaves, you can't trust them to score, so I don't want much to do with them as a quarter goal underdog away. That does play into the total here, but we don't have a 2 yet, so I'll wait to see that on Sunday. To the nightcap Sunday, we have Osasuna hosting Valencia. Currently, Osasuna a quarter goal favorite. Almost all the juice on Valencia away. Total is 2 1/4, juice all the way to under. These are 2 teams that aren't really best at scoring goals, but Osasuna certainly do better than that, better of it at home. Valencia have been playing better as they're trying to escape relegation, but they're in the dogfight and they're mired in it, and that's not a great place to be. I do think that will probably push them to perform, and it certainly motivates them. But I think we see more from sides in the relegation zone that fight a lot harder. It's the nature of the beast. Osasuna are not there. They're going to try to match the intensity at home with a big crowd behind them at El Sadar and Pamplona. But I lean to Valencia getting the quarter of a goal, and will be certainly interested in under 2 1/4, though probably would wait and see where this line ends up and probably play under 2 at plus money, as that feels like you might see some late pushes late, which will be brutal. But I think will be better for a juice saving idea moving forward. Moving to Monday, we have Villarreal hosting Espanyol. Currently, Villarreal a 1 1/4 goal favorite with more juice. Totals 2 3/4, juice more to the over. Espanyol are just, they've been so good at home. Have been really bad away. Did steal a win last weekend, I believe, on the road. It's weird to see them playing 2 back-to-back road matches, and this is certainly a tough one. But Villarreal, they just don't defend well enough, and they leave teams and keep teams in it. The problem is Espanyol are not going to be able to win a shootout. So I think they're going to try to play this game as low scoring as possible. That probably means that while I do lean to Espanyol getting a goal and a quarter, I think I like under 2 3/4 more. The problem is that just doesn't fit a Villarreal strategy very well. For my best bet in La Liga in Spain, I'm going to go with, it's so tough to look past Real Sociedad getting a goal in 3/4 as a very, very good team, though it is certainly a tough place to play. I'm going to go Athletic Club, a half of a goal underdog on the road at Atletico Madrid. That's a scary one too, but I like the setup very well there as a rested team versus one that had to go all out at Barcelona in Copa del Rey. Moving to Italy and Serie A, we'll start with Atalanta, 2 goal favorites at home to Venezia. Total is 3, just all the way to over. Both the teams were not in the Coppa Italia midweek, so Atalanta is going to, I guess, choose how many goals they want to score. Venezia is going to go in to try to defend. The 2 is gigantic. But I don't know. We've seen Atalanta crush teams. They've struggled at times as well. but when they have it going, they can kill everybody. I'll lean to under 3 is my biggest interest in this matchup in the early one Saturday morning, but I just don't know if there's enough for me there because I think Atalanta are going to try to score 5 goals and try to take out their anger of being eliminated from Champions League and Coppa Italia, all these sort of things. And it might just be a really tough day for Venezia away. Moving next to Napoli, hosting Inter Milan. Currently Napoli a pick'em, all the juice on Inter away. This was, I think, Inter a quarter goal favorite, very juiced on the Napoli side. So this one looks like it's going to ping pong on both sides. Totals 2.25, juice more to the under. I'm pretty interested in Napoli here. I do like the pick'em or a quarter of a goal. It is tough to be in the way of Inter Milan, though they did come off a relatively rotated side at home midweek in the Coppa Italia and advanced against Lazio. I do think that Napoli, that's the side you want here. The crowd's going to be nuts. It's going to be a really tough place for Inter play. And they do, I mean, no matter who they try to rotate, they did substitute, and it's an extra match where Napoli didn't have to play it. So I lean that way to the pick'em, lean to under 2.25 as well. So I just don't think that Napoli are going to let Inter Milan play a high goal scoring game. Inter are happy to let Napoli have the ball and try to dare them to try to hit them on the counter. I think that means we get two teams that play a low scoring game, despite, I guess it's a fairly low total for the names involved in this matchup, but maybe Napoli won't score an own goal as foolishly as they did last week at Como. To the nightcap on Saturday, I have Udinese hosting Parma. Currently, Udinese with 3/4 goal favorite. All the juice on Parma away. Total is 2.5, juice all the way to over. And I don't trust Udinese. Amazing what happened with their penalty kick. That they got a very fortunate one, elbow in the face in the box, which then a few minutes later was like not called on the other end. Feels like when the penalties are against you, they're really against you. But Udinese had some drama where one of their young players, their striker, just refused to let anyone take the ball out of his hand and ended up scored a penalty in a very nice, beautiful fashion, but then was substituted off. I don't know the story on the availability of Lorenzo Luca. If he's got some sort of in-house suspension, but a 37-minute sub with no injury was very interesting. Parma's been playing better. They got a big win last weekend. I think they're looking like more of a Serie A side, not so crazy front-footed as they were to start the season. That worked out fairly well. They needed to play better defense away, and I think this is what we're seeing. So I like that 3/4 goal. I think I like under 2.5 even more. Moving to Sunday, we have Monza hosting Torino in the early matchup. Monza, half a goal underdog at home. All the juice. Total is 2.25, juice all the way to under. I don't want much to do with Monza. I mean, they were just lifeless, I guess, against the Roma side on the road last week on Monday. Roma did get the extra day off after their Europa League toil, but ultimately Monza have not shown anything offensively for a long time. So I'll lean to under 2.25 in that matchup as I don't play road favorites in any sport. Genoa then hosts Empoli. Currently Genoa half a goal favorite at home with more juice on Empoli away. Totals 2.25, juice all the way to under. Genoa are owned by 7-7 Partners. I was just looking them up before I started podcasting, and they're apparently going through bankruptcy. I guess buying Hertha Berlin right as they went down to the Schweizer Liga in Germany. Not the best move, but Genoa is one of their properties, and they seem to be doing okay. Empoli coming off a huge upset in Coppa Italia is going to make it really tough for them to do anything in this matchup. I don't think I trust Empoli's defense much this year, but I do think that they're going to have to focus on that away from home. And Genoa don't score much, so that does make me have some interest in under 2.25, though I can certainly see some reasoning against it. Bologna then hosts Cagliari. Currently Bologna a 1-goal favorite coming off their midweek rescheduled match after I think a flood canceled it with Milan. But they came from behind 1-2-1. It was a big win for me, even though I'm wearing a Cristiano jersey right now. I think the Cagliari 1-goal underdog is where I'm interested. It's a really nice push, especially with the extra rest. They did come off a pretty disappointing 1-goal loss to Juventus at home. I lean to under 2.25 in this one as well. So I like that full goal of insurance, and it correlates with an under here, as I don't think there's a lot of scoring. Bologna has been playing a lot better, but I think it's going to be a tough one just coming from Wednesday to Sunday. Yes, they played Champions League midweek all season so far, but they did get eliminated from that competition and weren't playing very well in Italy either. Roma then hosts Como. Currently Roma a half a goal favorite. Juice is split both ways, so it's 2.5, juice all the way to under. I mean, Como are looking like they're one of the better teams. I guess they don't have financial fair play because they're not in Europe, and somehow that there's a big loophole in Italy for that. Almost bought Teo Hernandez for 40 million euros or something like that in January. Wild. to see a promoted club trying to take players in the starting lineup from Milan. But Roma, they've been playing a lot better at home this year. This is going to be a tough test for Como. But they've been getting a lot of respect all season. I'll lean to the half of a goal and lean to under 2.5, though Como have not been playing a lot of unders. To the nightcap on Sunday, Milan hosting Lazio. Currently Milan, half a goal favorite. All the juice on Lazio totals 2.5, juice all the way to over. I'm very interested in Lazio. I'd like to be against Milan. I don't think Conceição has really been taking over. I think there's a lot of rot or sickness within the club. And Milan playing that extra game midweek. Lazio did too. But ultimately, Lazio played, I think, the earlier day, if I'm not mistaken, and they got the benefit of the half of a goal underdog. Now, it's going to be tough going to San Siro, but that hasn't been a great spot for Milan. They've not been playing well anywhere. Lean to Lazio getting half of a goal, and I think I like that more than under 2.5, but it looks like it's climbing to 2 3/4, and the higher that gets, the more interested I am in under. To Monday, if Juventus hosting Verona, currently Juventus a 1.5 goal favorite, more juice on Verona, totals 2.5, juice all the way to over. Verona, I mean, they've been playing better lately. It seems like whenever I trust them, it backfires. And Juventus, I mean, incredible as huge favorites to get eliminated in a penalty shootout against Empoli. They were fighting like heck to try to win it late after they fell behind early, equalized, and then were not able to. And that was a big win for the underdog community. I'm not sure how many of us had that out there, but lean to Verona and potentially getting a Juventus side that have been overperforming their play with results. That should end at some point. Lean to the Verona getting a goal and a half, and lean to under 2.5 as well. For my best bet in Italy, I'm going to go with Lazio getting a half of a goal from Milan. I like that side a lot. Like the idea of fading Milan as much as I can. We'll now move to Liga in France. Still have the German Bundesliga left, and then we'll do ultimate best bets and get out of here. We'll start with Saint Etienne hosting Nice. Currently, Saint Etienne a 1-goal underdog at home with all the juice. Totals 2 3/4, juice all the way to over. Saint Etienne, they've been a really good home team, horrible bad team, and I guess really good is not right. Saint Etienne have been serviceable at home, horrible away, and they have a lot potentially to overcome here as they lost, I believe, 8-0, if not mistaken, to Nice on the road earlier this season. I don't think it's going to be that bad. I lean to the 1-goal underdog and to under 2 3/4. Would love to see that hit 3. Don't think I want to play Saint Etienne if they lose the +1, but lean to under 2 3/4 in that one. Just don't really trust Saint Etienne to score goals. I don't really trust them to defend. Nice have been scoring a ton of goals this year, and I expect that to come back to earth, but I guess until it does, it's hard to see it. Lens then hosts Le Havre. Currently, Lens a 1.25 goal favorite with more juice. Totals 2 3/4. Juice is split both ways. Le Havre have really just let me down. They played so well last weekend, took a red card, and fell behind, equalized, fell behind, and then took a red card, lost 4-1. And honestly, Le Havre, it seems to be what happens to them. They just can't get over the hump. They've sold a lot of players. Tagerlien left, I think, for Eindhoven in Champions League or in the Eredivisie in Holland. And honestly, Lens, I mean, they've been taking red cards so often this year. I think they're leading Liga in red card, which is amazing for a very defensive side that plays so well at home. It's a really tough spot for Le Havre to go into. It's a big number, but they haven't been playing to deserve that. I'll lean to under 2 3/4, but I just don't know that I want to get involved again. I just fool me once, shame on me. Fool me 15 times, shame on me again. To the nightcap, PSG hosts Lille. Currently, PSG a 1.5 goal favorite. All the juice on Lille. Totals 3 1/4, juice all the way to under. I don't know who's backing unders in PSG matches anymore. I mean, they're so good. I mean, Ousmane Dembele is so amazing. I mean, the goals that he scores, it's amazing that Barcelona basically that he left Barcelona or that they let him leave. I don't know if they really wanted him to leave or he wanted to go back to France, but he is so good and is so scary. And Lille have not been playing well, but they're starting to kind of get back into the swing of things. They were so good in Champions League and so good in Liga for so long, and were money makers everywhere you looked. I think it's really hard to fade PSG in the Parc des Princes, but at this point, getting more than a goal, PSG held on for dear life against Lyon with 2-0 and 3-1 leads, and really could have been 3-3 many times. Lyon were able to escape with a 1-goal loss and return all bets back to people or potentially the winners on 1.25 who were willing to pay the juice. I think there's a similar story here for Lille. I really like how they played. I think they can play PSG really tightly. The first meeting I don't think went very well. PSG just dominated all their closest competitors, even on the road in bad situations the first time. But I do like the 1.5 for Lille in this matchup. Moving to Sunday, we have Lyon hosting Stade Brestois, coming off of their Coupe de France midweek. Lyon already crashed out of that competition. They're 3/4 goal favorites with more juice. Totals 2 3/4 juice, almost all the way to over. I don't expect to see a lot of goals being scored in Brest matches. Lyon, though, they are certainly the goal-scoring kings. I think we see a pretty defensive effort from Brest. That makes me more interested under 2 3/4 than it is in the side. Montpellier then hosts Rennes. Currently, Montpellier, a quarter-goal underdog at home. All the juice on Rennes. Total is 2.5, juice all the way to over. I mean, Montpellier look like they're going down, which is really sad in their 50th anniversary season. I don't think I want much to do with backing them as a home underdog. Rennes have been playing very well since they got rid of Sampaoli. Those easy money bets were unfortunately ended, and Rennes have figured something out, and they've spent some money, and that certainly helped. And they're playing one of the worst teams in the league. I don't think I want much to do with anything here, though Rennes have certainly been seeing less goals in their matches. Sampaoli is a psycho, so of course anyone after him would play more defensively. But I think that's where Rennes have started to play well. So maybe if anything, I'm interested in under 2.5 in that matchup. Next, we go to Angers hosting Strasbourg. Currently, Angers a pick'em right now. All the juice on Strasbourg away. Totals 2.5. Juice more to the over. Strasbourg have been playing better lately. The youth seem to get their errors out of the way in the first half of the season, much to my chagrin. Angers, though, they're competitive and they're going to try to stay in this league. I think if we can see Strasbourg move from this currently very juiced pick'em to a quarter-goal favorite, I'll lean to Angers. Switching juice, I'll certainly lean to Strasbourg. Basically, any underdog here I'd like. And I guess I lean to under 2.5, but it's probably not. I think I'm more interested in the odds on the home underdog right now, and that is Angers. We'll move to Angers hosting Toulouse on still not the same 11:15 Eastern time window here in the United States. Angers, a quarter-goal underdog at home to Toulouse with more juice. Totals 2.25, juice all the way to under. Toulouse were the culprits that really blew Le Havre out of the water despite getting outplayed. Angers coming off midweek Coupe de France exit on penalties, brutal, but did get a late equalizer. Dominated the game, but fell behind, of course, it seems to do with a lot of these favorites on the road that don't deserve to be. Drive me nuts, but make me feel like the underdogs are the play, and we'll eventually we'll see some regression to the mean. Angers getting a quarter of a goal at home is what I'm interested here. They've been scoring more goals, though. I don't know that Toulouse. Two defenses that seem like they're ripe for conceding. I'll lean to the home underdog getting a quarter of a goal. That is Angers. To the nightcap, Marseille hosts Nantes. Currently, Marseille a 1.25 favorite with all the juice. Totals 3, just more to the under. Nantes with a great bounce back after a 7-1 thrashing, conceding the last 7 goals of the match after going a man down on the road at Monaco. Now, Marseille is a really tough place to visit. Nantes are going to try to play defensively. I don't think that's going to go very well. It is a big price for them to get, but I think I'm okay with letting that go and potentially playing under 3. That's a scary number to play in any Marseille match because they can certainly score. For my best bet in Ligue 1 in France, I'm going to go with Angers, quarter-goal underdog, as I think that is the best way to get to the money. Don't love them playing midweek another match, but they did rotate a fair amount. I wonder if Abdelli, their captain, is going to play. That's probably my biggest interest in seeing in the lineup. To the German Bundesliga, and this is the last league we'll cover, and then we'll get to the ultimate best bet, which is currently hitting 75% this season. Werder Bremen, currently a pick'em coming off of a tough DFB Pokal midweek on the road at Arminia Bielefeld in the Dritte Liga, the third tier, 1, 2, 3, I believe. Well, we're 2-0 down at halftime, and now have to then play a home game against VfL Wolfsburg, who's going to sit back and force Werder Bremen to take possession of the ball. That could mean a stalemate with two teams that just don't want the ball and don't want anything to do with it. Werder Bremen have been playing horribly heading into this DFB Pokal, and potentially we're looking to try to change things, but then they lost Arvin Duksch pretty early to an injury. We'll see if he returns. Doesn't look likely, taking off as a first-half substitute. Wolfsburg are in great position, but they just played DFB Pokal against Leipzig a day later. So two potentially very weary teams. I think we see a low-scoring match here, so under 2 3/4 is my biggest interest at the moment. We'll move next to Heidenheim, hosted Borussia Mönchengladbach. Currently Heidenheim, a quarter goal underdog at home with more juice. Totals 2.75. Juice pretty heavily to over right here. Heidenheim, got a huge, we're up 2-0, and they don't do well 2-0 leads against big clubs in Germany. I think lost 5-2 to Leverkusen, ended up drawing with Leipzig. But big point for Heidenheim, trying to do everything they can to get out of the relegation mire. And Borussia Mönchengladbach have been a bad road team. So it does make me interested in the home underdog, though not very interested, unfortunately. Totals 2.75, just all the way to over. I'll lean to under there as well. But there's a lot that can go wrong there. Unfortunately, Heidenheim's defense really was not what got them into the Europa Conference League, which they crashed out of last week. Last season, they were scoring goals and playing really well, and I'm just not sure I'm going to really believe in that. Those of you that are live with me, if you have any comments, feel free to throw them up, and I'll put them on here. If you want me to go through a match in detail or have any questions, happy to answer them. Or you can feel free to rewind back and hear the other 35 minutes. We'll move next to VfL Bochum hosting TSG Hoffenheim. Currently Bochum, a quarter goal favorite at home. All the juice on Hoffenheim away. Totals 2.75, just all the way to over. Rare to see Bochum favored, but they've been playing very well lately. I was hoping that they'd stay a pick'em for a long time, but it was very juiced before I came onto this podcast. Hoffenheim have been playing better, but that's not hard because they've been like one of the worst teams in the league. And they're barely above the relegation fight, and they could get there, especially if they lose this match. Bochum have been playing well. I'll skip the side here. I don't want much to do with Hoffenheim, but I do think Bochum is a favorite. Feels a little bit awkward, and I think we see a low-scoring match compared to the total, which looks like we might get to 3 at some point. We're not there yet. I'll lean to under 2.75 at the current number. RB Leipzig then hosts Mainz 05 from Leipzig, coming off of their DFB Pokal midweek, home to Wolfsburg. Tough match, but at least they're home again. Mainz are going to bring the intensity. We'll see how much Leipzig can cope with that. I'll lean to the half of a goal. Juice is split both ways. I'll lean to the Mainz getting the half of a goal. I'll lean to under 2.75. Very juiced to under right now, and it should be. I just feel like Leipzig, while they've been so good at home for years, haven't really shown it this season. Have had a really bad year overall. And I think Mainz are going to feast on that. So I'll lean to Mainz getting that half of a goal and to under 2.75. We'll move next to St. Pauli hosting Borussia Dortmund. Currently, St. Pauli, half a goal underdog with more juice on Dortmund. Totals 2.5, juice all the way to over. Yeah, Dortmund, they were able to get an own goal to break the seal and then scored 1 million goals. I think scored 6 at home to Union Berlin last weekend. I'm not trusting that to continue. St. Pauli getting a half of a goal. I'm interested there and lean to under 2.5. But that's really tough, and that's really a St. Pauli total. Dortmund are an over team. So that's kind of going wrong directions, unfortunately, in that one. Maybe lean to the half of a goal on the home underdog more. To the top spiel, the Saturday night cap, we have Eintracht Frankfurt hosting Bayer Leverkusen. Currently, Frankfurt, a 3/4 goal underdog with almost all the juice. Totals 2.75, just almost all the way to over. Definitely two teams that can score, and a lot of questions about Bayer Leverkusen's defense. But I do think they know they need to win. I think they'll be more conservative with the lead, so that makes a 1-goal loss a lot more likely for Eintracht Frankfurt than something lopsided, though this number is way higher than I was expecting. I'm curious to see what the Frankfurt availability would look like. Like Ugo Ekitike being out could certainly explain this number being higher, but I haven't seen that news just yet. I'll lean to the home underdog getting 3/4 of a goal because I think there's a good chance they get a result here and fully end the chase for the Meisterschale defending champions Bayer Leverkusen. Moving to Sunday, 2 matches, then we'll get to ultimate best bet. Union Berlin currently a 1-goal favorite to Holstein Kiel. All the juice on Kiel, totals 2.75, juice more to the over. Not sure the last time I've seen Union a 1-goal favorite. I don't trust them at any price like that. Holstein Kiel, they know that they concede too much. They've been saying it in post-game interviews from their center backs over and over again. I think they go and try to defend here. Union Berlin are not a goal-scoring team. I really like the idea of being against Union as a side. It's just really hard to trust Holstein Kiel to do anything away from home in terms of winning a match. So maybe I lean under 2.75 more, but man, that's a tough one with their road defense. Though Union Berlin are certainly not a team that can score a lot against them. And the odds are here. If you've been with the Real Underscore G Warner across any social media platform for a long time, when the late podcasts come out, unfortunately talking to myself for so long, I guess it's probably just ripe environment to yawn. But Augsburg, they're hosting Freiburg. The last match we'll cover on this episode. Augsburg, a slightly more favored pick 'em right now at home. Totals 2.25. She's pretty heavily to under. Freiburg have been doing very well, had a bunch of 1-0 victories consecutively, then broke out against Werder Bremen on Friday last week, getting a 5-0 victory. Augsburg has been playing really well, took advantage of a red card last week and got 3 goals from Alexi Claude-Maurice, one of the best finishers in the Bundesliga, probably because he doesn't deserve as many goals as he had, but he credited him, he put him in. I think we see a low-scoring match here. That's been my kind of call on Augsburg for a while. Without that red card, I think they wouldn't certainly had 3 second-half goals to send it over last week. So potentially a good spot to get your money back on the Augsburg under. As for the best bet in the German Bundesliga this week, I think there's probably some value in going against Red Bull Leipzig. I think at this point, could see a low-scoring match at Werder Bremen as well. The Eintracht Frankfurt number is probably the most puzzling to me, 3/4 of a goal. But I think I'll go with that as my biggest interest on this episode. I do need to check some lineup stuff out, though, to figure out why the heck it is priced that way. But I definitely lean that way for the best bet from the German Bundesliga. So now it's time for the ultimate best bet. Before we get there, I want to plug the college basketball podcast already out tonight on Pregame Now on Twitter or anywhere you get your podcast at thepregame.com. RJ Bell's Dream Preview feed. That's with at Big East Ben. We went through 5 games, biggest games on the college basketball slate for Saturday, March 1st. Yes, it is March all of a sudden. And we'll be with you the rest of the season on there. Go check that out. At Big East Ben on Twitter is my co-host. I'm at the Real _ G Warner across all social media platforms. We also have plenty more coming out. At soccer's probably multiple per week, maybe 3 if we're getting back in the Champions League and Europa League next week. But stick around. We're going to try to do more of these best bets and keep the record going because it's been awesome. And it's probably time to get into it so I can get this uploaded and get to sleep. So let's get into it right about now. Hey, this is the Real _ G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. This is the ultimate best bet for the soccer podcast I do every week or multiple times a week. We're 35-12, 75% on our best bets this week. I go through each league I cover. I pick out my favorite one, my favorite bet from each, smash them all together and give you my favorite overall for the entire week. That's where we're 35-12, 75% so far this season, trying to keep that going. As for best bets on this episode, from the FA Cup, we like Fulham under 2.5 goals. In La Liga in Spain, we like Athletic Club, a half of a goal underdog. Serie A in Italy, we like Lazio getting a half of a goal. We like Angers, a 1/4 goal underdog in Ligue 1. And in the German Bundesliga, we like Eintracht Frankfurt, a 3/4 goal underdog. Check out all those plays and more on my Patreon, patreon.com/Real _ G Warner. But for my best bet on this episode, I'm going to Lazio, a half a goal underdog, fading the kit I'm wearing, Cristiano Pulisic jersey I'm wearing. I just don't trust Milan. They played an extra match midweek that counters Lazio in the Coppa Italia. Take Lazio a half of a goal underdog. And that'll do it for this episode. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you all day, all night, all whatever. March is going to be nuts, and it's already here, baby. Can't freaking wait.
Recording stopped.